There comes a moment in every parent's life when the roles quietly begin to reverse. For years, even decades, you guide your children with love, wisdom, and sacrifice. You hold their hands through storms, protect them from harm, cheer them on, and put their needs before your own. But one day, without warning, you notice something has changed. Maybe they no longer ask for your opinion, or worse, they disregard it entirely. Maybe they interrupt you, speak sharply, or treat you as if your presence is an inconvenience. Maybe they act as though you've become invisible or irrelevant. And it hurts deeply, because behind every dismissive comment or cold shoulder lies a lifetime of love they seem to have forgotten. If your children have started treating you with less respect than you deserve, it's natural to feel a surge of emotions: anger, sadness, even confusion. You might find yourself tempted to remind them of everything you've done, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the dreams you paused so theirs could blossom. But let me share a truth that can be hard to accept. Demanding respect rarely brings it back. In fact, it can drive it even further away. So what can you do? The answer lies not in confrontation, but in transformation, in the way you respond, in the way you carry yourself. Today, I'm going to share 6 powerful actions you can take, subtle, yet strong shifts that can completely reshape the way your children see you. These are rooted not in anger, but in wisdom. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll discover how to reclaim your rightful place, not by force, but by earning their admiration all over again. Let's begin. Action 1. Stop chasing their approval. One of the most common mistakes parents make, especially as they age, is trying too hard to please their children. Maybe you found yourself doing this. You rearrange your schedule to fit theirs. Say yes when every fiber of your being wants to say no. Suppress your own needs, hoping that by giving more, you'll be appreciated more. But here's the painful reality. The more you chase their approval, the less they value your presence. Respect isn't earned through self-sacrifice. It's earned through self-respect. When you constantly bend, accommodate, and avoid conflict, what you're really saying without words is, "My feelings don't matter." And once they believe that, it becomes easier to dismiss you. Let me tell you about Margaret. She was a strong, confident woman in her youth, independent, self-assured. But as she aged, she started fading into the background of her children's lives. She let them make all the decisions, stayed quiet when they spoke down to her, and told herself, "At least we're still close." But over time, closeness turned to convenience. Her children stopped asking how she felt. They assumed she'd always go along with whatever they decided. She thought she was keeping the family together, but what she was really doing was disappearing from it. If your children don't respect you, the first step is not to plead for it. It's to stop behaving like you need it. Respect yourself enough to speak your truth, even if it's uncomfortable. Set boundaries, say no, prioritize your own needs. Because when you respect yourself, others, including your children, begin to take notice. And in time, they will begin to follow your lead. Action 2. Don't argue, lead by example. It's tempting, isn't it? When your children dismiss you or speak rudely, you want to fire back, to remind them of all the love you gave, the years you spent lifting them up. You want them to see how much they're hurting you. But here's the thing. Arguing never earns respect. It just fuels disconnection. Think about it. When was the last time someone truly respected you after a heated argument? I knew a man named Frank. He was a retired teacher, once respected by generations of students. But at home, his adult children barely took him seriously. They laughed off his advice, rolled their eyes when he spoke, and made him feel small in his own home. Action 3. Withdraw emotional dependence. At first, Frank fought back. Every conversation became a battle, his way of trying to reclaim authority. But instead of respect, it led to resentment. Then one day he made a quiet decision. He stopped arguing. He started listening more and speaking less. But when he did speak, he did so with calm conviction. No anger, no desperation, just wisdom. He didn't push. He didn't plead. He simply carried himself like a man who didn't need their approval to feel worthy. And slowly something shifted. His children started listening. They leaned in more. They asked for his opinion. Why? Because respect isn't shouted into existence, it's lived into reality. So if your children don't respect you, don't fight them. Model respect. Carry yourself with dignity. Speak with quiet strength. Show them what it means to be grounded even in the face of disrespect. In time, they will rise to meet you. Then Helen shifted. She stopped waiting. She picked up painting again, joined a walking group, reconnected with old friends. She stopped needing her children to fill the emotional space in her life, and that's when they started calling more. You see, people, even our children, are drawn to those who are fulfilled, independent, whole. When you show them you're emotionally strong, they respect you more because you become a person they admire, not a responsibility they feel burdened by. Action 4. Set boundaries and enforce them. Respect doesn't vanish overnight. It fades when we allow it to. And one of the clearest signs of fading respect is this: when your children feel comfortable crossing lines they once never would. Robert, a retired executive, had led teams with grace and confidence. But with his children, he found himself shrinking. They interrupted him, dismissed his opinions, mocked his choices, and he let it slide at first. It's not worth the drama, he told himself. But every time he stayed silent, he was teaching them something dangerous, that their behavior was acceptable. One day, he decided to reclaim his space. When his son interrupted him, he calmly said, "I'll continue when you're ready to listen." When his daughter rolled her eyes, he replied, "I'm not asking you to agree, but I do expect to be treated with respect." And when boundaries were crossed again, he held his ground. Not with anger, with quiet resolve. It wasn't easy. At first, his children pushed back, but over time, they adjusted. Because they saw something new, a father who respected himself too, much to accept less from others. Boundaries aren't walls. They're bridges to healthier relationships. Set them, enforce them. Teach your children how to treat you, not with anger, but with unwavering self-worth. Action 5. Stop giving without appreciation. As parents, giving comes naturally. We give our time, our energy, our support, often without being asked. But when giving is met with entitlement instead of gratitude, it's time to pause. George had always been the dependable dad. Financial help, favors, emotional support, he gave it all. But instead of thank yous, he heard complaints. When he needed help, his children were too busy. So George made a choice. He pulled back. He started saying no when it didn't feel right. He waited to be asked. He stopped giving out of habit and started giving from intention. And slowly the dynamic changed. His children stopped taking him for granted. They realized that his help was a gift, not a guarantee. And with that realization came renewed appreciation and respect. Remember this: generosity without appreciation breeds entitlement. But when you make your kindness conditional on respect, it regains its value. Action 6. Build a life outside of them. The most powerful shift you can make? Rediscover yourself. When you stop making your children the center of your world and start building a life that brings you joy, everything changes. Eleanor, a widow in her 70s, had poured herself into her children's lives. She called often, gave advice, tried to stay involved in every detail, but it became too much. They started pulling away. Then Eleanor changed course. She joined a gardening club, took art classes, volunteered at a local school. She stopped waiting for her children to give her purpose and created her own. And guess what? Her children became curious, inspired. They started reaching out, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. They saw a woman with a life of her own and they respected her for it. When your happiness isn't tied to your children's attention, you become magnetic, inspiring, worthy of admiration, not out of guilt, but out of genuine awe. Final thoughts. Respect is not something you demand, it's something you embody. Through your actions, through your self-worth, through the way you live. If your children have begun treating you with less respect, don't beg. Don't fight, shift, stop chasing their approval. Lead with quiet strength. Withdraw emotional dependence. Set and enforce healthy boundaries. Stop giving without appreciation. And most of all, build a life that lights you up. Because when you live with purpose and dignity, your children will start to see you not as someone fading into the background, but as someone whose presence commands respect, simply by being who you are. If you found this message meaningful, leave a comment below with one insight that resonated most. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another video. Your support helps us continue creating the content that uplifts and empowers. Thank you for watching, and remember, your worth is not determined by how others treat you. It's determined by how you treat yourself.